be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundred.
I am mystified that despite all of that, he's gaining support.
It's down to money and the economy.
You have.
I very much like what she had to say because she's listening. I suffered a tremendous...
The 2024 U.S. presidential election wasn't just another political contest. It ignited a cultural firestorm, sparking intense reactions across the nation. In the wake of Donald Trump's victory, the so-called woke liberal media erupted with critiques, ranging from solemn reflections to biting satire. In the aftermath of Donald Trump's 2024 election victory, PBS commentator Jonathan Capehart expressed deep concern and confusion over the results. On a PBS NewsHour, he questioned the implications of such widespread support for Trump, remarking that it felt like America has given up on democracy. Capehart's analysis pointed to a stark divide in the electorate, with many voters seemingly endorsing Trump's controversial rhetoric and policies despite his legal and ethical challenges. This outcome, he suggested, raises profound questions about the nation's values and political trajectory.
I am mystified that despite all of that, he's gaining support compared to 2020. And it gets back to something I said earlier at some point, one of the hours ago, that who are we as a country? And we're starting to find out. And from what I'm seeing right now, I'm not sure I like it.
Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign faced significant hurdles despite her efforts to connect with voters. Her campaign emphasized empathy and policies aimed at social justice, climate action, and equity. However, critics and commentators noted that her message often failed to resonate across a politically polarized electorate. Many voters viewed her as unable to address pressing economic and social concerns effectively, which played into perceptions of her leadership being disconnected from ground-level realities. Harris's campaign struggled to counter Trump's narrative, which leveraged economic fears and cultural grievances. Analysts pointed out that her communication style, while earnest, sometimes lacked the punch needed to galvanize diverse voter groups. Her defeat underscored the difficulties faced by progressive candidates in bridging ideological divides, particularly in a race dominated by populist rhetoric.
Were knocked on in just the final weekend before this election. So what went wrong with the Harris campaign?
Well, Jose, you and I have been on the air together quite a bit, and I have been saying for a long time that it always gets down to money and the economy.
You have.
I very much like what she had to say because she's listening. I suffered a tremendous defeat when I was first governor on a referendum. I mean, I got absolutely crushed. And that night, I remember saying to the media, they were right, I was wrong. We have to listen to what people have to say, and the economic challenges out there, plus the fact that honestly, I think the Democratic Party, that the tails wag the dog, the progressiveness. People don't want it, they want simple little things, and they don't want to have things shoved down their throat with change that happens too much. For example,
Late-night host Jimmy Kimmel provided a sharp critique of Trump's re-election, delivering a satirical but pointed commentary on the broader implications of the result. In his monologue, Kimmel joked that it was a terrible night for men, women, and children, highlighting the polarizing and contentious nature of Trump's presidency. His quip underscored widespread dismay among critics of Trump, who see his return to the White House as a setback for social progress and democratic norms.
And a criminal, and we chose the criminal to be president of the United States. More than half of this country voted for the criminal who's planning to pardon himself for his crimes. I guess this election wasn't rigged. That's weird, though, right? I mean, he said it would be rigged. He said it was being rigged while people were in line voting. Isn't it remarkable that this time the fix wasn't in? Last time the Democrats cheated. This time we chose not to, I guess. I don't know. This Donald Trump, is like the Emperor from Star Wars. He's old, he's evil, and he keeps coming back with no reason. Used to get out of PE. But the rest was not great. Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad.
Many people were upset over Donald Trump's victory, particularly because Kamala Harris's campaign had heavily relied on the support of women and minorities, especially black women. Despite Harris's efforts to champion policies and initiatives aimed at empowering black women, a significant number of voters in these demographics chose to support Trump instead. This outcome was disheartening for her supporters, who felt her campaign symbolized progress and representation for marginalized groups. While many women and minorities turned out to vote, it wasn't enough to secure a victory for her side. The disappointment stems not only from the loss, but also from the realization that efforts to unify and rally key voter groups did not have the expected impact.
That have made Vice President Harris a stronger candidate if she were the one who had emerged at the top of the ticket after a robust primary process. And also that condensed period of campaigning deprived her, I think, of the long runway that a typical candidate has to really lay out what they see their vision as if they were to win office.
I mean, Trump winning the popular vote right now, the map looks almost all red. And there were a lot of things the Harris campaign was counting on. They were counting on a lot of women coming out. They were probably counting on a lot of minorities coming out. A lot of them did come out, but many of them came out for Trump.
That's right. And not enough of them came out for her. I spoke with one person close with her, I want to say 12 hours before polls closed, maybe it was 18 hours before polls closed, who said, listen,
When Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election, world leaders reacted with a mix of optimism, caution, and concern, reflecting their nation's interests and perspectives. In Europe, leaders appeared particularly apprehensive about a potential second Trump term, given his previous stance on key international issues. European leaders have expressed worry over Trump's threats to cut military aid to Ukraine and his criticism of NATO allies who do not meet defense spending targets. His previous term raised doubts about the U.S.'s commitment to NATO, a cornerstone of European security, leaving many bracing for possible geopolitical shifts. These concerns highlight the broader uncertainty Trump's leadership style has brought to global diplomacy.
Morning, Robin. I think presidents and prime ministers have been tripping over themselves this morning to try and send congratulations to Donald Trump. But here in Europe, I think leaders are bracing for what another Trump term could mean after threats to end military aid to Ukraine and withdraw US support for NATO allies who don't spend enough on defense. Trump has repeatedly said that he'd end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours if he's re-elected. President Zelensky appealing to Trump today to maintain support. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov saying he's not aware of Putin plans to congratulate Trump, calling the US an unfriendly country. I think China also is going to have concerns after threats on tariffs and the dangers of a trade war. Parts of South America and Mexico too are going to have cause to worry about Trump's threats about migration and also about tariffs. The City of Love, however, bucking the trend with the mayor of Paris.
In a discussion on Fox News The Five, panelists reflected on reactions to Trump's presidency and its implications. One speaker highlighted the difficulty of showing humility and grace toward those they strongly disagree with, using the example of being expected to engage with individuals they liken to extremists. They acknowledged the challenges of maintaining civility while addressing the divisive rhetoric directed at Trump supporters, such as accusations of being misogynist, racist, or fascist. The conversation also touched on some lighthearted gloating, reflecting a sense of vindication among Trump's advocates. Additionally, a comment was made about historians on MSNBC suggesting that a Trump win might lead to restrictions on historical scholarship, which was met with skepticism and humor. This exchange illustrates the polarized views and emotional intensity surrounding Trump's political impact. The media's reaction to Trump's victory in 2024 is a microcosm of the broader cultural divide that defines modern America.
It's better with honey. I find it that the media Democrat complex being so shocked and surprised that people react negatively to being treated poorly. Yeah. If you call everybody names, racist, sexist, transphobic, they're going to become euphobic. And then you look at their negative behavior and go, see, they are racist. No, we just don't like you anymore. So I would love to see some self-reflection. I do a lot, as you know, I do a lot of self-reflecting all the time. And I know that people are going to say we should show some grace and be humble. It's hard to be humble and graceful to people that call you a Nazi. I'm doing my best. It's hard to believe that they're calling for a peaceful transition after calling everyone misogynist, racist, speciest, fascist, convicted felon, you know? But I'm going to try. But I'm doing a little gloating.
The historians better hurry. Because
Yes,
remember, Michael Beschloss said on MSNBC that if Trump wins.
What do you think about the media's reaction to the 2024 election? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights.